Hello there, it's George again. So I thought I'd give you a very brief video about an introduction to British slang. I come from Ireland, as you surely can't deduce from my accent because I've got this pucker English accent, but I spent much of my life in Great Britain. So here goes with a bit about British slang or lingo. Some of it's just more formal in terms of the words used. So there's some subtle differences from American English, which is of course the predominant version of the English language these days. For instance, we're often saying really rather than real, as in he is a really nice person, not a real nice person, because we use real as an adjective, as in the opposite of unreal. Let me see. We would say railway rather than railroad. The thing is, people who are learning English as an additional language, they usually learn the American version. For example, I spent some time in Romania, and Romanians who spoke excellent English would use the American version of the word because that's the one that's just taught more internationally. There are 300 million people in the United States, only 60 million in the United Kingdom. Republic of Ireland, we tend to follow the British version. Let me see, people saying lift rather than elevator. It's notable that obviously they both mean the same thing about going up, although of course lifts stroke elevators take you down as well as up, but going up is harder work against gravity. Let me see, in the United Kingdom people generally say film rather than movie. Now, it's not an absolute distinction. People do occasionally say movie. For example, there's the channel Sky Movies. Likewise, I noticed in the United States there's a subject at school called film studies. I thought, why is it not called movie studies? Or people in the USA maybe say cinema. They're talking about the art of filmmaking. What else is there? Here's an example of argot, saying quid, meaning pound sterling. So for money, Americans would say bucks. If they're being informal, in the UK people would say quid. It's Latin, I believe it means what. Saying queue, both as a verb and as a noun, as in queue up. Americans say wait in line. There's the queue, as in there's the line that you need to wait in. It's because it's the French word queue, meaning a tail, literally. What else is there? Trousers rather than pants. Pants means underwear, usually male underwear, underpants to be more formal. So we say trousers. It's fascinating that it was the word used in the United States in the 19th century. For example, I read Mark Twain, one of his books, perhaps it was The Innocents Abroad, and he used the word trousers, though he spells it with a W rather than a U. What else is there? Okay, so getting more into slang. If you smoke, this is quite relevant, saying fags to mean cigarettes. One of my friends, he was in the United States, Adam is his name, there in a bar with his father who's a professor, some of his father's American students saying, right, I'm just going to the harbour, see if I can find some fags. And his father's students were aghast. Of course, Adam was meaning, I want to buy some cigarettes. I know in the United States it means something quite different. I suppose it's both related to a small item that one burns. People pejoratively said a flaming faggot when there was a lot of anti-gay prejudice. Ciggies is another example of slang meaning cigarettes. I don't smoke, incidentally. Mate, that's just a word meaning friend, or it's a bit like saying buddy, Americans might say. Just any person you see on the street in an informal situation, you might call them mate, or someone who really is your friend, you might refer to as mate. Tends to be used of men or boys. I have heard women talk about their female friends as mates. I've even heard people say maitesse, but that's quite recherché and unusual. Chap, again, that's a more upper class word, rather old-fashioned. People sometimes say chapess, but that's rare. I do so, but only for comedic effect. So that's it, just a brief introduction to British slang for those who speak other versions of the English language.